Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and today's video is called WTF Happened to Cisco Support with the Voice over IP Service Providers. So this one has a little bit of a backstory to it. I don't exactly know the exact politically correct or bureaucratic, aspect of what happened, but I'm going to give you guys kind of the general sense of what I heard happen here with this story, and kind of why you don't see a lot more Cisco, or at least why we don't see a lot more Cisco in the ranks like we used to. So basically, back in the day, and I've actually got one sitting up there on the shelf, I actually had a couple of Cisco phones. As a matter of fact, Cisco IP phone was actually my first phone when I first, got into business. Even before I got into this business, I had a Cisco phone a long time ago. Later on, I got another Cisco phone, which is a Cisco 303G, which is an oldie but goodie. For those of you who know it or know what phone I'm talking about, you know exactly what I'm talking about and how it was a solid phone. And it still is for people that still use it on systems that actually still support it with hosted carriers. But the short version of the story, the way that it was told to me, goes something like this. So back in the day, a lot of the different voice over IP service providers like Vonage, and there was some other ones, they were basically built on the BroadSoft platform, or the BroadSoft/BroadWorks platform, which is a Cisco patented software platform used to basically deliver voice over IP, like a suite of cloud-based voice over IP services over the internet. The way that I understand the story is that through BroadSoft and BroadWorks, Cisco more or less dominated the market kind of indirectly because all of the big service providers basically had access to the BroadSoft platform. As part of having access to that BroadSoft platform, they had to pay like fees, like licensing fees or like a leasing fee, if you will, to Cisco to be able to have access to this proprietary hosted voice over IP platform or backbone. The way that I understand the story went down is Cisco more or less kind of got greedy, and they decided to play a hand that basically said, okay, we've got all this market share. Now we're going to go to these big service providers like your Vonages of the world or whoever it may be, and we're going to say, hey, guess what? We're going to increase our licensing, and you just have to deal with it. The way that I heard the story was that the amount of money that they wanted to increase in the licensing was slightly outrageous, and they figured that everybody would just go with it because they were kind of like too dependent on the BroadSoft BroadWorks platform. The way that I understand how this story ended, which resulted in why you don't see a whole lot of Cisco IP phone support much anymore, is Cisco played their hand and the service providers called their bluff and decided to completely, some of them more or less, or a lot of them more or less, decided to completely drop support for BroadSoft. And in turn, turn around and create their own platform, meaning now they have their own platform that they have total control over. They don't have to pay any licensing fees to Cisco anymore, which I'm sure saves a pretty penny on the accounting side. But more importantly, they're not really being held hostage, I guess is the nicest way to put it. That being said, the dust settles, and we started to see less and less voice over IP service providers, hosted providers, supporting Cisco phones. We actually like the Cisco phones. I'm not bashing the Cisco phones. It's just I've had a lot of people recently asking me, Prince, how come this provider doesn't have any Cisco phones? How come that provider doesn't really support Cisco phones? And I've had to kind of explain to them on the phone without boring them to death the short version of why, and that's what compelled me to do this video. The cool thing, the interesting thing is that Cisco actually has some pretty cool phones. For example, not too long ago, I have a son who at the time of this video is about 1.5 years old. He's almost 2. And so we didn't have him that long ago. We had him not too long ago. And the hospital that we had him in, local hospital, they had nothing but Cisco phones. They had a lot of the regular, newer model at the time desk phones, and they had some of these really like badass like Cisco phones, which is still new at the time of this video. It's still one of the leading phones for Cisco. I forget what the model is. I want to say it's like an 8870. It's like an 8000 series Cisco that's got like the freaking webcam built in. And I mean, I remember after my wife had the baby, we're on the nurse, floor where the women that have just delivered are being tended to by the nurses and all that kind of stuff. And the doctors come by and check the baby and mom. And I mean, I'm seeing nurses in the like nurse call area doing like video calls and stuff on these Cisco phones with like their staff and whatnot. So these phones are awesome. I'm not knocking the phones. It's just, I have a lot of people ask me for Cisco or ask about it, and not a lot of providers support it. So I wanted to do the video so you guys understood kind of why. That's your why. We're kind of hoping that maybe Cisco and some of these providers will come back to the table and come up with an idea of something that is reasonable for both parties, so that Cisco can promote more of their stuff to some of the big service providers, and then the big service providers can also use the Cisco brand to draw in those customers that are, I guess we could say Cisco snobs, or they only like Cisco, because I know there's a lot of people out there, just like you have people like me that are a Yealink snob, and then you got people that are like, the Apple snobs. They only want Apple laptops. They won't go towards anything else. That market for Cisco type equipment exists as well. So I'm curious to see where that goes. But, this video, I hope, answers the question that some of you have had of how come there's a lot of service providers that don't really support Cisco IP phones like they used to, and why do you not see Cisco IP phones as much as you used to? At the time of this video, I would like to say that Polycom and Yealink, I think, are the two dominant leaders in the market. If I had to pick another two, it's probably like a Fanville and maybe a VTech or something like that. No, I'm sorry, not VTech. Fanville, well, three. Fanville, Snome, and VTech are probably the other three like big dogs in the market right behind Polycom and Yealink that kind of dominate, and having a pretty decent, phone that's feature rich, that's high quality, that has your entry level to very high end. There's some other ones out there as well, but those five that I just mentioned are probably the dominant players, with Polycom and Yealink definitely being the top two. But who knows? We'll find out kind of where Cisco will go from here. I do tend to see that a lot of folks that have like on-premise phone systems and things like that, or that aren't in the cloud, use a lot of Cisco, but I don't see it much in the cloud ranks. I know at the time of this video, I want to say that Nextiva supports it, but don't quote me on that. I know that RingCentral has support for most of the really good Cisco phones. Vonage doesn't really support it anymore because of that whole BroadSoft, BroadWorks falling out from, a couple of years back, or however long that was. I think less than 3 years ago. But I think things may change as time progresses, and who knows? Cisco may decide that they want to do their own thing and have limited support, and have some sense of exclusivity. Nobody knows. So for anybody who's watching, if you've got any insights into how this all went down, or what's going on there, or what you think the future of Cisco support with the major voice over IP service providers will look like as time progresses, I'd be curious to see your comments and get your feedback. But in the meantime, if you found this video helpful, please like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell. We upload new videos every single week. Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. I'll catch you guys again in the next video.